Destiny 2 builds designed around essentially 4 ideals: add clear, DPS, utility, and PvP. Most builds designed for 1, maybe 2 of these ideals. I have created a build that has all 4. I'm talking one-man alien clearing crowd control, boss DPS to rival your best heavy weapons, orbs, damage bonus, and healing utility, and it still kicks butt inside of Crucible. More than that, this build is simply fun to play, which I believe is more important since we are, if I remember correctly, playing a video game. To use an analogy, why eat a burrito if you don't like how burritos taste? Alright, if you've already clicked on this video and you're done hovering over autoplay, let's go make a burrito. But unfortunately, these burritos cost money. So this video is sponsored by Enlisted. Enlisted is a World War II multiplayer shooter game available on PC, Xbox Series X, and PlayStation 5, as well as PS4 and Xbox One, with cross-platform support. Enlisted places a strong emphasis on historical authenticity while keeping gameplay dynamic and players always in the middle of the action. From historical campaigns, large-scale battles, to historically authentic weapons, Enlisted is a great game for players looking to enjoy a variety of fast-paced dynamic combat. I love these kinds of more realistic shooters, and I haven't been able to enjoy one without a huge price tag for quite a while. And it's even better because I don't have to worry about a platform barrier in order to play with my friends. Play Enlisted for free on PC, Xbox Series X, and PlayStation 5. Use my link to download the game and get your exclusive bonus of 3 days of premium time and several troop and weapon orders for a great start. See you on the battlefield. Anyways, our main ingredient is the Cold Heart. This exotic trace rifle has received a buff about 2-3 seasons back that makes it unbelievably effective for warlocks. Cold Heart's perk increases the weapon's damage the longer it stays on target. This, out of the box, places Cold Heart in the top 3 of best overall damage for special weapons without anything added on top of it. As you can see, it doesn't beat out Wither Horde, nor does it beat out Agar Scepter with the secondary fire mode enabled, but what it does allow you to do is allows you to have the flexibility to pick and choose where you take your damage on the fly, unlike Wither Horde, without costing you your super like the Agar Scepter with the Catalyst. And this is all before we talk about the second half of this exotic. Cold Heart's exotic perk allows it to generate ionic traces whenever we keep this weapon held on a target for an extended period of time. Ionic traces are a major buff to our ability uptime, as well as granting us amplified if we run an Arc Warlock with Electrostatic Mind, which of course we are. We want to squeeze as much value as we can out of the ionic traces we are getting. Thankfully, Warlock's melees all gain some kind of benefit from being amplified. Ball Lightning will pulse more for more damage, Chain Lightning will chain to more targets for better damage and crowd control. Personally, I love the versatility and safety offered to me by Ball Lightning, as it also allows me to shoot around cover, which is nice. For our second aspect, I opted to go for Arc Soul. Arc Souls, just like Cold Heart, got a buff that made them deal more damage per shot, which may not seem like much, but these are now an indispensable part of my ad clearing tools. Not to mention, it adds a small bump to the rest of my team's overall damage for anybody who steps inside my rift that scales depending on how many of them actually get picked up, and those luminescent mobs are a pain in the ass. Arc Souls will help you clear them out. They actually will target them. It's a huge load off your mind. Arc Souls also receive a benefit from being amplified, so, you know, the more the merrier. Let's get this thing to deal more damage. Between our Cold Heart, melee, aspects, and fragments, we are already equipped to handle most situations. We get so many ionic traces from this that it is very common for me to have another Arc Soul Rift up before my original one even ends. For supers, I elected to go with the Kamehameha, the Chaos Reach. Chaos Reach now jolts targets, which adds more damage to the equation, and more ionic traces for the Electrostatic Mind, as well as just a bit more ad clear if we wanted to, cause why the hell not? I made an odd choice here and went for an Empowering Rift as well. This is mostly to make sure my Cold Heart will kill whatever I pointed at, but of course this can be changed if you find you need the survivability of a Healing Rift. My personal grenade of choice for this is the Pulse Grenade. It's the best overall DPS out of the arc grenades I have found, but more on that later. Before we discuss fragments, let's talk about the other part of our exotic kit. The go-to exotic for this, of course, is the new Warlock aircraft, the Cenotaph Mask. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. This exotic will steadily reload trace rifles from reserves while also marking high-value targets to allies. If an ally defeats this marked target, they get heavy ammo. This synergy here is plainly apparent. More cold heart damage on target for longer, while also feeding allies arguably one of the most valuable resources in the entire game of heavy ammo. But me some, I hear you cry out in the night, I don't have the expansion, or I don't have the exotic yet, and that's a-okay. Try running this with the Mantle of Battle Harmony. The Mantle will give you your super energy on Cold Heart kills and grant you bonus Cold Heart weapon damage after you get a kill if your super's already charged. I don't think these robes are ideal for this build or most builds in general, but they did help me to get them from the Lost Sector to begin with, that you're seeing in the background here, so they might help you out as well. One final aside. If you are in a situation where someone needs to run Divinity and you have the Cenotaph, this build perfectly slots the Divinity without a single change to mods or fragments, which we will talk about in just a moment. With both trace rifles, you can optimize your ammo economy by tap firing them as well. Divinity will keep the cage on your target for longer than you would ever need with the Cenotaph, and Cold Heart secretly will charge its exotic damage ramping perk a little bit after you release the trigger, allowing you to reach its max ramp for less overall shots. It's slightly slower for damage though, so, pick and choose, but it is nice to know. Now, let's talk about fragments. Without a doubt, the best fragment for this build is Spark of Beacons. Beacons will cause your Cold Heart precision kills to create a blinding explosion, which is not only, obviously, makes slaying enemies of humanity easier, but it also feeds back into Electrostatic Mind, which will trigger on blinded targets as well. There is literally no reason not to run this fragment. For our next fragment, we are going to do Spark of Amplitude. Rapid kills while amplified create an orb of power. Oh, good Lord Almighty. Did we just create an orb of light farm on top of Ionic Trace farm? Yes. Yes, I think we may have. Next, Spark of Magnitude. We are on Warlock. Warlocks throw grenades. It's what we do best. This also juices up our Pulse Grenade into the boss DPS and King of Arc Grenades that it is. Feel free to shift this one around if you find another grenade choice works better for you. And lastly, Spark of Shock. No surprises here. We are adding Jolt to our grenades. Electrostatic Mind gets benefit from this, as well as it just being good for damage and more ad clear, because why the hell not? Armor mods, Utility Kickstart, and Reaper. This is for better Arc Soul uptime and cycling, but neither are absolutely vital for this build. For your legs, try the new Elemental Charge mod for a chance of getting charged with light from picking up your Ionic Traces. And then run Better Already for a critical source of healing from the metric ton of orbs we are going to generate, and some final mod of your choice is up to you. Could be a surge mod, could be a generic ability mod like I have here, whatever you'd like. Chest mods are up to you. Typically, you will change resistances around according to the damage types, but I do highly recommend at least one Arc Reserves mod, as you will be definitely chewing through Cold Heart or Divinity ammo. Arms, I ran this with Focusing Strike, Melee Kickstart, and Heavy Handed. And lastly, for the helmet, the only real requirement for the helmet here is Arc Siphon for more orbs, and probably a special ammo finder for the aforementioned special ammo issue that we had earlier. I actually ended up running this with a double special loadout as well, which just means that this is even more beneficial to me. For your artifact, first column, the only real requirement here is Overload Trace Rifle. Why? Because why not make Cold Heart also deal with champions? Authorized Arc for column 2, and maybe Techno-Color Siphon if you also want to run this with some Strand Primary. For column 3, we use Electric Armor for longer amplified time, and Thunderous Retort for bonus arc super damage while we are critically wounded. Thunderous Retort also synergizes particularly well with our Mantle of Battle Harmony version of this build if you decide to run it with that. Column 4, use Amped Up for damage resist while amplified. Hopefully I don't need to explain why. Lastly, Shock and Awe and Lightning Strikes twice in column 5. Shock and Awe makes the explosions we are generating from the Cold Heart and Spark of Beacons even more satisfying, and Lightning Strikes twice gives us more opportunities to spam Jolting Pulse Arc magic. This build really feels like Bungie has written this script for me. Everything has such amazing synergy with each other. It seems planned. If nothing else, it certainly got me to notice these lesser used, but nevertheless lethally buffed arc tools. Hey, If you made it this far, subscribe. And once again, thank you to Enlisted for sponsoring this video. Play Enlisted for free on PC, Xbox Series X, and PlayStation 5 with the link that I have in the description, as well as the pinned comment. I hope to see you out there. Bless your faces, and deuces.